What's going on, everybody? This is dkdynamite, and tonight we're going to be talking about another surprising update regarding Cold War Year 2, additional DLC that was found, and even more. Definitely stay tuned. But before we jump into that, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And in case you guys missed it last night, PlayStation Size went ahead and reported on the official patch for Season 2 of Call of Duty Vanguard. He revealed the HD cover art of the new season and reported that the patch is going to be a little bit bigger than 10 gigabytes. It's supposed to be a bigger sized update, which I'm not surprised about considering how much content is supposedly coming to Vanguard next week. Hopefully the update does include dozens of bug fixes, which the game desperately needs by now. But I believe because PlayStation Size is a decent sized Twitter account, no pun intended, and Modern Warzone also retweeted it, the official Call of Duty Twitter account came out today at around, I think it was 11 a.m. my time, with the following tweet. The front lines are getting reinforced. Get ready for armored war machines coming to Vanguard and Warzone on February 14th. Now, I made a video last week talking about everything we know so far about the new season for Vanguard. I'll keep you guys posted, of course, with separate videos whenever we get a new roadmap and a blog post, hopefully by the end of this week. We're just not sure about that since the marketing schedule for Vanguard has been a little inconsistent over the past couple of months. But yesterday we discussed some exciting information about a new weapon that's reportedly coming to Black Ops Cold War. It's currently codenamed the Soviet Rifle. Now, at least we know that we're getting more than just cosmetics during this Year 2 period of the game. If Modern Warfare 2019 got a new operator, some bundles, 3+ maps, and a couple of weapons during Cold War cycle, then you can bet your ass Treyarch has some plans up their sleeve for more Cold War content during Vanguard cycle. Now, we're all hoping for the Soviet Rifle to be something that's fun to use, maybe not something that's broken and pisses people off, but I wouldn't complain about a Peacekeeper or even a futuristic weapon. But the codename Soviet Rifle probably means it'll be based off of a weapon that was used during the real Cold War. And all in all, though, this game is definitely one that earned the idea of having additional content during a year or two after being the best-selling game for around 2 years in a row. Now, it was then brought to my attention after my video went up yesterday, because that's my luck, right, that a second weapon was actually found, and it's currently codenamed Fléchette. It is an SMG, though, so I guess this is good news. We're getting both an AR and an SMG in Cold War at some point, I want to assume this month, and I'm like, you know what, that's fine that I didn't see that information when I put up my video yesterday. It gives me a reason to make another Cold War video today, which I'm really excited about. So upon doing research on what the Fléchette SMG is, quite a few things came up, and obviously these images on Google may not be at all in reflection of what the weapon is going to be in game, but maybe some of these are a bit more accurate. I'm not sure. References of a needle gun, people out there were talking about the idea of it being an underwater weapon, but I'm like, nah, we could already use all the weapons underwater anyway in this game. Doesn't really matter. But I know in reference to the Soviet Rifle yesterday, people were talking about the fact that it could be the AEK 971, which was built in 1978 and used throughout the 80s. So historical accuracy isn't exactly a priority for Call of Duty, but maybe the SMG Fléchette will also be based out of something that exists in real life. There is an image floating around out there by some of the curious individuals who posted this information, and this could be concept of what the SMG may look like. I'm not saying this is an exact image of the weapon itself, but it could be close to it. People compared this to the Faro from Black Ops 3 multiplayer, which definitely was a really fun weapon to use, but that's of course a futuristic one. So like I've said before, I wouldn't really mind if we got futuristic content added to this game. And I mean, hey, it's Black Ops. Treyarch always has fun with their games. They take the game serious, but they don't take it too serious to the point where they can't dabble around and throw a couple of interesting things in the game to just add more replayability. And I think their focus is always on fun gameplay instead of basing their content out of realism and making sure that whenever they add a weapon in, they have to make sure that it was built in a certain year that would fit the game's time period. I don't think they care about things like that. I think they just care about us having some fun. So let's continue on here. We got blessed with even more good news about Black Ops Cold War when another sneaky individual online by the name of Sebas, who has posted some very spicy early information from time to time, went out and posted that Slasher Deathmatch is reportedly coming as a game mode to Black Ops Cold War as a bit of a replacement for Scream Deathmatch, which we saw during the Haunting event, but minus the inclusion of Ghostface and all the Scream references. At first I'm like, hey, let's get more slashers added to that game mode, even though it's not Halloween. That would be fun, right? Other games have done it where they add in dozens and dozens of slashers across different fan favorite horror franchises, but I think Scream Deathmatch was just so well received to the point where they're like, hey, why not bring it back, but with less of a Halloween focus? And that's what they're gonna do apparently. The same thing already happened with Crank, since it was originally known as Die Hardpoint during 80s action heroes, and that mode was super well received. I had a lot of fun with that game mode. I'm just salty that right now you actually can't play it anymore. Hopefully they'll bring Cranked back at some point in a future update, but that mode alone introduced us to the first ever nuke streak in a Treyarch multiplayer, which then got added to all other game modes later on, which was such a nice touch. Definitely something that us multiplayer sweats really had fun going going for, or something extra to grind for as well. If you just, enjoy high kill gameplays, going for streaks, it was something extra added to the game, which I'm happy about. But I really enjoyed Scream Deathmatch a couple of months ago. I'm excited to see its return at some point in a future update. Let me know how you're feeling about that down below in the comments. But the good news doesn't stop there. The friendly neighborhood data miner Alex then went ahead and posted some hints towards the upcoming operators coming to Cold War as well. He wrote, and I quote, K, P, and maybe even R. So K and P are easy guesses, Kravchenko and Peck, some fan favorite characters from the new Dark Ether storyline, which I think everybody wants to see as playable operators. But what about R? People are conflicted on what R could stand for. Is it Raptor 1, who became an instant fan favorite after Firebase and during the first two main quests of Outbreak? Now, he got in some trouble at the end of Forsaken, so I wonder if because of story reasons they can't make Raptor 1 a playable operator, kind of similar to how Lazar died in the canon ending of the campaign. Therefore, Park is a playable operator and not Lazar here in-game. Maybe it's something similar to that, but I think everybody out there will love to play as Raptor 1, and nobody out there is really tripping about the story implications of his character as of right now. Ravenov is another guess, which I think is a likely candidate considering the larger role he played throughout the entirety of the Dark Ether story. Now, if you're thinking about Richtofen as R, that doesn't really make sense in my opinion. I think they'll wait until the next game to bring in Nolan North to voice everybody's favorite character again. I don't think they'll bring him back just to voice some little lines here and there for just an operator. I figured they would bring him back in their next Black Ops sequel. I'm sure he'd go by D and not R, since they'll probably reference him as a director, not Richtofen. And they probably won't use his name Richtofen anymore either. He'll probably just be known as Eddie or the director in all future installments. Now, in terms of the release date for this next Cold War DLC, obviously we can all speculate, and I talked about this a little bit in yesterday's video, but the individual Alex over on Twitter is claiming that it'll be in the next few weeks. So February, without a doubt, will be the launch of some new Cold War content, which is exciting. Could be a random day when Treyarch decides to just drop the patch for all of this. I'm sure PlayStation Size will also go ahead and report on whenever a new patch is added to the database. That's when we'll know that we're days away from a preload of this new DLC. The word around the grapevine right now is that a ton of new bundles are on the way for this game as well. So I'd honestly be happy if we got a small content drop at least once a month throughout the rest of 2022. But what would be cool is if by the end of this week, this content does drop, or some of it at least, before the launch Season 2 for Vanguard on the 14th. It could even be possible that we get some of this on the following week after Season 2 comes out, maybe towards the end of February, but Treyarch probably wants to enjoy some of the work they put into Vanguard League play and the new update coming to Duran Fung before taking our attention away from Vanguard and putting it back onto Cold War, even though most of us out there are still fully focused on Cold War. I know I am. But if you're a fellow content creator or somebody that watches a lot of Call of Duty content quite often, then don't you get the vibe right now that more people seem to care about a gun coming to Black Ops Cold War, or many weapons I should say coming to Cold War, including operators, hopefully maps in the future? People care more about that than the entirety of Vanguard right now. And I'm not trying to say that to bash on Vanguard and hit it while it's down. I'm not trying to do that at all, because I respect everybody out there who supports Call of Duty and has the preference for what game they like the most. We're all on the same side. We're all on the same team supporting a franchise that we all love, but it reminds me so much of the Black Ops 3 years, right? It reminded me of how more people cared about DLC weapons that were being added to Black Ops 3 Year 2 and Year 3 more than the entirety of Infinite Warfare, even World War II at certain times. It was crazy to see that back then, and I feel like we're seeing the same thing now, where people are really hyping up this new Cold War content, and good. I mean, I enjoy covering the game, and I can't wait to post more content on it throughout 2022 alongside Vanguard for those out there that still care about that game. Now, I also wanted to bring up something you guys probably haven't even thought about, and that's the idea of Blackout 2 and Treyarch having used the Ural Mountains for more than just Fireteam, but a full-fledged Battle Royale mode, even beyond Fireteam Elimination, which is already in Cold War. So as you guys know, Ural Mountains was originally built with the intention of being a Blackout 2, and gameplay exists out there of all the regions combined into one experience. I can't show you that on screen for obvious reasons, but that was likely in decent development before Activision realized, hey, Warzone is way too big to put down after 1 year. We're gonna keep updating it for years on end. But I assume at some point, like we talked about on the podcast with E. coli Espresso last week, at some point Activision was like, all right, Warzone will will just be Modern Warfare's Battle Royale, and then we'll just have each of the devs do a new Battle Royale every year, which to me wouldn't have been a good idea. But it looks like for Cold War, they were gonna do a bit of a Blackout 2/Warzone replacement, but we all know what happened, right? Warzone really took off, and I think a lot of reasons for that include it being free to play, having crossplay, getting frequent updates. At least it did before. It hasn't really as of lately. But with that, Activision was like, hey, I mean, Warzone's taken off. There's no need for a Blackout 2. So if Treyarch actually got their way with Blackout 2 and used the Euro Mountains completely, then I wonder if that would have gotten a year 2 this year, or if Sledgehammer would have came out and said, okay, we're doing our own Battle Royale as well, and then Infinity would have come back in 2022, or fall of 2022, with their next Battle Royale. Now, I wonder if that's what would have happened, since right now, Ground War is rumored to be releasing with Vanguard Season 2, and that's going to be a bit of a Fireteam equivalent. Hopefully it's closer to the War mode than Ground War from MW, but I wouldn't get my hopes up for that. So Treyarch really hasn't had the chance to do a proper follow-up to Blackout, where their Battle Royale experience is free to play with crossplay. Blackout was held back for a number of reasons, but it still, in my opinion, offered so much more gameplay-wise and brought more to the table than Warzone does right now. And that's subjective, of course, but maybe, and just maybe, Treyarch will have more influence than they did with Verdansk 84 over in Warzone 2, which is supposed to come out in the next year and a half. And I would love to see Treyarch dive full force into something like that, with essentially Blackout on steroids, with the capabilities and engine and gameplay style that Warzone offers. Now, I'm sure you guys missed this earlier today, but images of Season 3 operators for Vanguard have already popped up online, and based on that, I'm just gonna assume it's somebody behind the scenes who is sharing this information, and it's probably gonna be caught soon. What does that remind me of, though? It reminds me perfectly of Infinity Ward and the drama that was going on during MW 2019, where for some reason there were loose lips behind the scenes way too often. I don't know how certain people out there who worked at the studios were risking their careers and essentially risking lawsuits just to leak information to random content creators, random Twitter accounts. I never understood that about Modern Warfare. It was to the point where there were no surprises in that game, and something similar to that is kind of happening now with Vanguard. I don't know if it's the way that the game is built in the Modern Warfare engine. I don't know if it's a lack of security that somehow only Sledgehammer and Infinity Ward struggle with. I don't know what it is, but it's super frustrating when there's nothing to look forward to that hasn't already been revealed by randoms on the internet. Now, of course, there were early pieces of content found by suspicious folks during the Cold War season. I'm aware of that. There's leaks all the time for all games. I understand, but it was never to the extent in which information was flowing online for MW 2019 and now Vanguard. Cold War just had things down correctly, and I guess people at Treyarch cared more about the security of their content more than others. And this all makes me sound like the supposed Treyarch shill, I know, but that's just the way things have been. That's just the way I feel as a full-time Call of Duty creator, and that's my observation when it comes to how information flows throughout the internet for these Call of Duty titles. We now have images of Season 3 operators for Vanguard before we even have the release of Season 2 or the release of the upcoming Cold War content that's also dropping this month. It's crazy. I also wanted to run something by you guys real quickly before the end of this video. The idea of seeing an additional mastery camo added to a game deeper into its life cycle. Maybe this only works for Infinity War titles, considering Infinity War titles don't have zombies, at least not as of recently, and probably won't when the sequel comes out this fall. Modern Warfare 2019 added in the Obsidian camo pretty deep into the game's life cycle, which to me made sense considering there was no zombies where you can grind an additional camo in. That game only had Damascus, so it was something extra to go for in case you guys already had everything unlocked. It was cool for the hardcores out there, but I know Cold War had Dark Matter Ultra, Dark Ether, Vanguard has Atomic and the Green Tiger camo, so maybe something like that doesn't work for games that have zombies, but I wouldn't mind if we got a third camo added to a game like Cold War, or in Treyarch's next game where the game launches with 2 and drops an additional one later in the year. That would be cool for the hardcores out there that feel like they need something else to do when they unlock everything so quickly. And maybe that's why I like the new prestige system that Cold War had, because I don't see a point in getting master prestige within the first week of the game's launch and having nothing else to really grind for throughout the rest of the year besides camos or calling cards. It's cool that you can go for an additional couple prestiges every single season. It gives you a reason to come back and play the game every season, and that's why I'll stand by that 100%. But that is about it. This has been dkdynamite. Leave our thoughts down below in the comment section. What are your thoughts on the surprising new updates coming to Cold War Year 2? How are you feeling about the additional weapon, operators, and other content that may be on the way? And also, what are your thoughts on Vanguard Season 2 thus far? I really hope you've enjoyed, and peace out, everybody.